Good morning. Do you have your tea, coffee, and the most beautiful cup of choice? I particularly like this one. It's funny, when you go and you try to decide what it is that you want in the world, we have found collectively, the three of us, that it's often best to start with a list of things you don't want. Have you found that, JaiK?
Yes, it's much easier for me to always go, okay, I know I've tried this and this and this and this, and these are all the things that don't work for me. That's where I start and then flip it to what actually works. So I know that's what this morning is about. It's the whole list of the don't wants, the things that haven't worked well for us over the years.
It's true. It's true. And it's funny when every time I work with clients, I'm like, okay, so what is it that you want? They always start with all the list of the stuff that they don't want, right? It's where we start.
Yep.
It is. And as coaches, we try to get people over to what they do want. And I think we've been a bit overzealous over time. I think that it's important to honor what we've already learned, the sort of lessons learned from our experiences. And I think that's why I enjoyed so much the session that the three of us had when we realized that this next division, Business Uplift, was like, I want to be born now. And we're like, can you wait? No. That we started in that place because we've spent tens of thousands of dollars each, like multiples, in
multiple tens.
We've been the ideal client for a lot of people, where we come in and we're compliant and we do as we're told and we spend the money and looking outside of ourselves to get what we need, and we got a lot of value from those programs, but the how of the programs wasn't always a match.
Yeah, it's your parts of it were and parts of it aren't. And yeah, just getting the value out of it has been a challenge over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for me, sometimes I thought it was me.
Yeah.
And not that it always wasn't me, but
to be clear, sometimes it's clear.
There's been a lot of growing happening, right? And I think that's one of the things, if it's okay if I start, one of the things that I found that you only know in the rearview mirror is when I get into a program and wasn't able to take full value out of it, I only found out 3 years later after the program,
right,
that my business had matured to the point that I could actually make use of the learning. Like I wasn't assessed properly. I wasn't screened properly. People wanted me, and assumed that because I could talk it, that my business could implement it. And they're two very different things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is, I think it's something we've talked about, and I'm not sure that a lot of program managers, people who are running programs, really are aware that there's different levels of maturity, right? It's not all one thing. And so, even if you're a mature entrepreneur, if your business is brand new, there's stuff you just can't do yet.
Well, exactly. And if you're both a fairly new entrepreneur and you have a new business, I think that's when people end up in a lot of those programs, because they know they don't know.
Yes.
But they don't know what they don't know.
Well, and they think that they've got to do it all at once.
Oh, yeah, the all at once.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, then we have to birth out a 15-year-old business, right? It doesn't work that way.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, it was a real struggle. And especially when I would get encouraged or sold into higher level programs.
Yeah.
That when I actually needed some of the lower level program stuff, but you didn't necessarily have access, or you only kind of had access to it. Or we're going to give you access to it. So how are you supposed to implement this program while you're trying to implement this one? It was really frustrating.
Yeah. Allowing the time to actually use what you've learned, implement it, learn it, get to know it before you move on to the next. So it was really about, and that's an individual thing too, right? Everybody moves at such an individual pace. And I know that's something that I've definitely found over the years, is I was expected to move exactly the same pace as everybody else in the program, right? Yeah. Which is understandable. And I thought I could, right? Again, I thought that I could do more than I was actually capable of in the moments, right?
Well,
Yeah,
'cause
and it's interesting. I've been in some, larger programs where, like you said, everything's delivered at one level. And so you're trying to figure out how to implement it for your own business when you're not at that level, or maybe you're beyond that level. And so it's, being able to, it's one of the challenges of things being sort of very structured, is that there isn't necessarily the flexibility that is going to serve the breadth of the people in the program.
Well, yeah, you might come in and you might have mastered, or maybe the first 2 months of curriculum is what you do as a business. That is your brilliance.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I could teach this.
Yeah.
Like what?
Oh, so yeah, and that's the other thing is, I know we've talked a lot about doing your brilliance in your piece of cake. And I know there's been several programs where, and as entrepreneurs, we do need to know how to do everything. And there's been many programs where I've been told to focus in on the things that aren't my piece of cake, and they take up 90% of my energy, right?
Yeah.
And then my piece of cake then starts to dwindle.
Yeah,
because it's not that there's nothing left for it anymore, right? So focusing in on things that weren't necessarily where I needed to be focusing on, that kind of thing too.
That happened to me, and because there was such pressure to work on those things, it got to the point where I actually didn't want to do any sales, because if my business grew, I had to do more of the things I didn't like.
Yes.
So they started pushing against each other. So I would just rather not do my brilliance than have to do all of that, because I was doing it ahead. I actually didn't need to be doing it.
Yeah, Nikki just said, I'm just watching the comments here. Nikki says, I unconsciously call being on my entrepreneurial journey because it's just that, it's my journey, and it's going to look a lot different than someone else's journey. And it's so true.
Yeah.
Unconsciously talk about it. That's what she corrected. I was paraphrasing.
Got it. Yeah. No, it's
nice.
It's important. And then what I didn't like about being in a program that I wasn't ready for, that wasn't a right match for both my entrepreneur maturity and my business maturity, is that I felt like I was failing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the other things that I'm realizing as we're talking about this is some of the programs I've been in set up a sort of unconscious competition in the program. So instead of creating a place where everybody was uplifted, it created a place where people were competing against each other, and it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's kind of sucky. Because we want to be in a place where we can lean on each other and help each other, right? Like we can coordinate and cooperate together.
Well, we can create so much more when we're in community. And, even if we're working on separate projects, when we work in community, it creates this increased energy that flows through the whole group. And, I've been in programs like that too. And the difference is really, really obvious.
Yeah, especially when it's facilitated well.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the last big programs I was in was about going into getting someone's process. And I think that they had experiences before with programs that weren't facilitated well. So they got in between you so that you couldn't collaborate and work together. Right. They very specifically shut all that down. Right. And if you asked for help, everything got turned back around. And I get what they were attempting to do. It just wasn't done very elegantly. So the end result was a feeling of isolation. And if you actually wanted access to talk to somebody who could help you, it was only on a group call. Like it was just these tiny little windows. And I think that program was more designed for people that already have a team, and that most of the stuff that they're doing inside that program, their staff is doing, and that they don't have the time. They just come in and get what they want. The thing is, they were qualifying so many of us that were in my position.
Right.
that did want to talk to each other, that did want to say, how are you doing with this? If I share this that I got done, can you share? And that there, yeah, there just wasn't space for that.
So again, it comes down to that assessment, like properly assessing where you are, and what you actually need right now in your business. Yeah. And I, I want to honor all of these programs that we've done, because we have learned and we have grown so much in these programs, right? I know we're just getting kind of nitpicky here. And yeah, to feel like you're being thrown into a group versus being treated like an individual, and what's important to you. I know that's something that I've definitely felt in pieces and parts of some of the programs over the years too.
Yeah, to that point, I was just thinking about, a program I was in, and you got I think 6 or 8 15-minute calls with a variety of coaches, and you could book stuff in, and which seemed really great. And I've done lots of 15-minute calls with coaches where it's super effective. It doesn't sound like very much, but you can do a lot in 15 minutes. And the what I found frustrating was when every time I came into the calls, I felt like I had to explain everything again. Right? So there wasn't the consistency that would really be required for a 15-minute call. And that was, so it's the concept was right. The implementation was off a bit. Like if there had been a program advisor, or if there had been like one place where all the notes were that the coach would review before they came on the call, something. But it was, when I had to explain who my husband was for the 17th time, I was like, this is frustrating, because I feel like I'm in this high-end program. You should at least know who my people are. And that made me feel less like I was in a high-end program.
Right. Absolutely. One of the other things, because there were several times that I ponied up for a program because I thought it was what was going to move my business forward. And so you have the conversation with the spouse around what it's going to cost and what we have and what we don't have, and that the program's going to pay for it. And because, when you're spending 1,500 or 2,000 or 2,500 Canadian by the time you get exchange in there a month.
Yeah.
That's a big decision to make. And then you get into the program, and then suddenly, oh, but now that you're here, you're going to want. Yeah.
And to really fully implement the program, then you really need to buy these things. And that's not cool.
Or at least it's positioned that way.
Yeah. Tricia says every program offers some benefit. The ones that are heart-centered or client-led are so much better.
Especially for those of us who care about those things, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Right?
That's so true. Sometimes I just need to go in and get the data, right? I need to learn this particular skill and do this particular, awesome. I don't care if you love me up.
Yeah.
And when I'm in a community-based program, I want to feel looked after.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the thing. Every program that I've been in, there have been a core group of people that were ideal for that program. They shone in it. It was exactly what they wanted. And they most reflected who the person who created the program is.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's been one of my big lessons learned. Who is this person, and what I actually, even though I might not have access to them, I want access. But if I don't have access, is I'm going to have access to them through the program. Is that going to give me what I want? But I'm with you, Casey. If I'm going to be in a community, I want access to the people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not to the people who are running it, and to the people who are in it, because that's where a lot of the magic happens.
Yeah. I'm much more a community person. I feel more comfortable when people have seen me make a mistake and still like me. I feel more comfortable when I know that people are gonna be there for me, that they're gonna let me be there for them. Yeah. I just relax in so much more.
Well, and I've met some awesome people at these events, like you, KK.
Going all the way to Florida to
both of you at trainings and programs and so on. Like some of my favorite people in my world. So it's a cool spot to be.
Yeah. So it's been cool. we've learned so much from programs, and every single person that we got into a program with was, had our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And we talked about that before. We wanted to make sure that this isn't about trashing other programs. It's about, as you come through anything, what were your lessons learned from it about what works best for us? And the three of us have gotten much better at choosing the programs that really align with us, that we know we can get more value out of because they're such a match.
Absolutely. And as we've created things over the years, we've woven in the things that really have worked for us. And, this next thing is pretty fun.
You know what? We should maybe get together tomorrow at the same time and talk about all the things that we love that are sort of must-haves in our programs that we're in.
That sounds good. I'm in.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Then we'll see everybody back here tomorrow at 8:30, and we'll do this again, but the flip side.
Yay.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.